Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So as usual, let's just jump right into the actual market itself. Let's see what happened. The market closes in just a minute. And yeah, let's just take a look at the absolute bloodbath that occurred today. Guys, wow, an absolutely horrendous day. So by the way, if you enjoyed the video, whatever, don't forget to hit that like button. So the SPY and the QQQ, you can see here, down 3.16% and pretty much 4% for the SPY, for the QQQ. And Tesla down about 9% as it's about to close here. Now, again, keep in mind, it's not completely abnormal, right? Tesla being down this much. And the reason is because, well, the QQQ is down 4% yet again. That is like, again, this is, this market is just simply absolutely brutal, like just disgustingly brutal, like exceptionally brutal. Like it's just a straight downhill. I'm pretty sure people are just getting margin called left and right at this point as well, right? I mean, usually when you get sell-offs like this, people like they get a little too greedy, they buy too much on margin, and then when things keep dropping, they just get margin called, and then that essentially forces liquidation, forces it to drop, which then forces other people to get margin because it keeps dropping, and it's kind of like a never. It's like almost like a weird self-fulfilling prophecy that just keeps going until, you know, enough people got margin called. Essentially, you know, that's pretty much what it is. It's interesting, but nonetheless, Tesla market just closed, ending the day at 787. I'm not gonna lie, this is lower than I thought. I didn't think we'd go this low. I actually thought 800 would be the low point that we get to before a bounce. I didn't think we actually go below 800. We did. So you can see I have these lines drawn. I had these lines drawn before it even got here, right? So the next thing, you know, in the case that 780 breaks, the next level to watch for is of course the 760, and below that, we're probably going down to like 730s to 700s. Now, again, I don't. It's hard to say. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like everything is looking pretty bearish. Like the RSI is just making lower lows, it's just pointing straight down. If we take a very quick look at the MACD on the daily, you can see just making lower lows as well, pretty much just looking straight bearish as well. Like the whole market in general, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it looks extremely bearish. So just based on how this goes and based on how today went, again, today was much more red than I expected. Again, you know how I usually say Mondays usually tend to rhyme with Fridays, and you know, Friday was a red day, it was a pretty painful day ish, right? Not as bad as today, but it was pretty bad. Actually, maybe even worse, I can't remember. Anyway, the point is that Friday was a red day. Mondays tend to rhyme with Fridays, not always, but usually. And then Tuesdays tend to be the opposite of what Monday and Friday were. So by that logic, tomorrow we should get a bounce. Now, whether it's going to be the actual start of the bounce that will get up, like a relief rally, if you will, or just a quick little bounce up before further downside is still yet to be determined. Personally, what I would want to see in order for this potential relief bounce to start happening, and it's not just like a quick, you know, temporary, like 1 or 2 day quick bounce, and then, you know, back down we go, would be, first of all, obviously above 800, but ideally, I want to see Tesla at the very least, I want to see it above 820, like minimum, I want to see it above 820, and ideally the 850 to 860 range, I want to see it above that. And if we get above the 850 to 860 range, then I think we can finally get that bounce to the low 900s, which I still think is coming. Again, guys, keep in mind that when I was talking about over here, I did say that regardless of what happens next, whether we fall, we drop, or we bounce up, like regardless of what happens next, and even from now on to regardless of what happens next, ultimately, I personally still believe that we are going to be probably touching at least the 760, if not 700, at least. Like that, to me, this area right here, personally, again, not financial advice, just my opinion, is my like heavy buy area, if you will. At the moment, what I'm doing, in case you're wondering, is I'm selling puts. Now, I did sell my puts way too early, mainly because I didn't think we'd drop below 800. I started selling them when we were like around 820. But essentially what I did was I sold puts for 820, 800, 780, and 760. Those are my 4 levels that I'm personally selling puts for this week, for this Friday. In other words, if Tesla ends under 820, I'm buying shares. If it ends under 800, I'm buying more. Under 780, I'm buying more. Under 760, I'm buying more. That's essentially what that is by Friday. So essentially as Friday ends roughly. That's what I'm personally doing. And I'm doing that because, yeah, I'm setting these bullish positions because I do expect there to be a bounce. Again, whether or not we go down to like 760 or not, is still the question. Keep in mind, guys, we also have Wednesday CPI data coming out, which I actually think, ironically enough, might be a good thing for once, because I think the inflection point should be very close, but we'll see what happens with that, of course. Now, nonetheless, Tesla selling off on the day, right? You know, 27 million volume. You know, it's fairly high volume for Tesla. It is above average, but relative to the recent market days, it's not absolutely abnormal. So it's just kind of in line more or less. But the red days tend to be a little bit higher than the green days, which is not necessarily a good thing. Again, the RSI is pointing straight down, the MACD is pointing straight down. We can take a very quick look at my favorite Bollinger Bands over here. You can see Tesla just completely hovering the bot side. We were doing that over here, and I usually said how it does that for a few days, and then it bounces up to at least a white line in this case. It seems like we're going to be doing something similar. So again, tomorrow I expect to be a green day, but I don't think it'll be like a massive green day. I really don't think we'll go above 820 tomorrow. Maybe we will. Who knows? This market is volatile. We're having the SPY and the QQQ move like 4% almost every single day. That is not a normal market, guys. This is not a very easy market to tread through. It is a very volatile market. It's a very aggressive, very punishing market. And I'm personally very happy with the way I'm treading through, because I'm essentially like 85% cash right now, assuming of course none of these puts exercise. At the very moment, like at the beginning of the day, I was 85% cash, and that's why I'm selling these puts, because I'm selling them against the cash. In other words, I'm saying I'll be able to, I'll buy if it gets to this price, or if it stays at this price or below this price. So I'm personally very happy with the way it's happening. Like I feel like I personally avoided like an absolute shit ton of pain while also making money on it, which I'm happy about. But if you're someone that's like losing money, and if not, especially if you're trading and it's not going well, if you're just it's falling and it's just not working, you're just losing, especially if you're newer, like, don't be too hard on yourself. I just want to say that, because I feel like this is, a moment where a lot of people will be very upset. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's a very difficult market. It's an extremely difficult market, extremely volatile, extremely punishing, very little room for error, I guess, if you will. So don't be too hard on yourself. But either way, guys, you can see the Bollinger Band. Like I said, I usually like to chill around the red part, like the bottom half, or not bottom half, but the bottom line, if you will, the red line, for like, a couple of days or so, roughly around its area, which is currently doing at the very moment. So I wouldn't expect that to change too much. We probably will recover back to the 800, tomorrow or Wednesday, in my opinion. I do think we will. I just don't think we'll go too much higher just yet, probably until Wednesday's CPI comes out. And as long as that's not something horrible, I think we potentially can start looking for that relief or rally coming up. But we'll have to see what that number is on Wednesday. That'll be an important day, so make sure you mark your calendars for that. Very, very important. But nonetheless, guys, let's take a look at the volume profile very, very quickly as well. This is a pretty good one as well for the most part. I think it was this one. Yep, beautiful. So you can see the volume is getting a little bit low over here for Tesla, right? So you can see that as we're getting lower and lower, the volume is starting to decrease, which isn't really good. And the main reason is because Tesla doesn't usually trade too often. I'm actually not sure how accurate this volume profile is actually acting over here, down here, because it doesn't make too much sense. Mainly because I think we haven't really traded underneath this like 760-ish range often at all. The couple of days that we did, it only lasted like 1 or 2 days, and then we pretty much bounced right out of that like extremely quickly. So that's something to keep in mind. So not really the best thing in my opinion right now to look at. This is more useful when you're like all the way up in this range, because there's just a lot more data to work with essentially, because we haven't been down here for so long, so there's just less data currently. But yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. So again, I personally think we should bounce. Like I really would be shocked if we don't get some form of bounce like relatively soon, like honestly maybe even tomorrow to a certain extent at least. And it'll be pretty important to see what that bounce looks like. Again, guys, in my opinion, most important day by far is going to be the Wednesday. So that'll give us a better idea as to what we can expect moving forward for the rest of the week, maybe even the month. But I want to restate this one more time, guys. Regardless of what happens, regardless of the bounce and where it goes, which I still think, once we get the bounce, once it starts, once it initiates, I still think we're going to go to like low 900s, make a lower low, and then potentially fall one more time, probably like a crazy bull trap one more time after we do this crazy bear trap. Now, regardless of what happens though, guys, don't forget, I'm going to say this one last time. I still expect the mid to low 700s at least to be touched and to be visited at some point, regardless. Yeah, so keep that in mind. I don't want people to get too euphoric when we do get a bounce, because usually when we get these kind of bounces in a bear market, they're extremely fast and extremely aggressive, just as fast as we almost fall down. So expect something probably somewhat similar to this, probably not as aggressive as this, but nothing, I wouldn't say too exceptionally far from it. Again, probably into around that 900-ish level. Now I did talk about the weekly on Friday, guys, and I did mention how the candle for the weekly was pretty atrocious looking, I'm not gonna lie. But again, with that being said, I also was wrong on today's movement. I genuinely didn't think we would go this far down. I really thought 800 would hold. I'm pretty surprised, but I think what happened was there was a bit of a margin call for sure. Like you can see here, as we started falling, the volume just kept increasing and increasing and increasing as we like started doing this descent, which to me just tells me that there's, you know, most likely a massive margin call. And now the last thing I want to look at very quickly is going to be the 1 hour chart, because you guys know I personally like the 1 hour chart. Gives you a nice idea as to what you can expect in the short to medium-ish term for the movements. All in all, you can see that, you know, we're pretty much consistent at this level. Wouldn't be too surprised to see 760 maybe, you know, sometime relatively soon, maybe even tomorrow morning, before we kind of maybe like a crazy sick bounce or something like that. You know, I wouldn't be too surprised to see 760. 760 is, you know, a pretty good area of support and demand. So in this case, there'll be a lot of support because we bounced off of it twice here. You know, back here you can see there was a lot of resistance, right, as we kind of kept trying to go above it way back when in September of 2021. You know, so it's a pretty nice key level. Again, 780 is a decent one as well, but I think 760 is much bigger in my opinion personally. So I personally wouldn't be surprised if we potentially touch 760 before a bounce, but like, man, that would be quite disappointing if we fall much below that yet, like right now. Like I don't think we should fall below that yet. I do think we will, but I don't think that should happen anytime soon, or not yet at least. That'll be very disappointing if it does. But that's essentially what I'm seeing, guys, right now. Brutal market, absolute brutality. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Don't get too disappointed. Don't get too, you know, sad or depressed or whatever. Just, you know, if you're a trader, it is what it is. Great crash course, if in my opinion. If you're an investor, well, you know, simply just slowly add on the red days. Slowly add, you know, don't worry about it too much. And yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And check back in 5 to 10 years, and I'm sure you will be happy with the return. But either way, guys, that is it for this video. Again, I personally entered some bullish positions because I am feeling overall bullish. When everyone's bearish and everyone's scared and there's just this much blood, that's when I get bullish. And when something like this is happening, that's when I personally get bearish. You always want to do the opposite of what, you know, the obvious move is essentially, and where your natural emotions are trying to tell you, right? You always want to try doing the opposite of that. And the longer you do this, the more you get used to that. But nonetheless, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.